morning, Austin New Church. You look beautiful today.
You do.
Hope you guys are doing well.
So full.
It's a complicated time we live in right now, and I know many of us in this faith community are in various stages of deconstruction and reconstruction. And if you're like me, I've been kind of craving simplicity, and I found this song, and I think the message of it is very beautiful and simple, yet profound at the same time. Just the idea of inviting Jesus to make our heart his home. The thing that we tell our kids, Jesus can live in your heart, is actually very beautiful and true, and something we can easily understand and never wrap our brains around at the same time. So we're going to sing about it.
Temples built with hand, laid with precious stone, but all along you wanted to make us your treasured home. Mansions made of men, touch the sky from earth, but still your house of choice was broken, vessels made of dirt. So make my heart your home. All that's mine is yours. Ooh. Make my heart your home. Ooh. All my life is yours. Ooh. Oh. What about the mess in me? He was born in a manger. What if I'm unclean? He'll make you new. That's what he do. What if I fall away? He'll hold you close, won't let go. He's knocking on the door of your heart. Oh, let him in, let him in. Make my heart your home. All that's mine is yours. Ooh, make my heart your home. Ooh, all that's mine is yours. Ooh, hey. Come on in, take a seat. I made room for you and me. Never leave, oh Jesus, stay with me. Come on in, say, come on in, take a seat. I made room for you and me. Never leave, oh Jesus, stay with me. Come on in, say, come on in. Take a seat. I made room for you and me. Lord, never leave. Oh, Jesus, stay with me. Come on in, say. Come on in. Take a seat. I made room for you and me. Lord, never leave. Jesus, stay with me. Oh, stay with me. Oh, stay. Come on, take a seat. I made room for you and me. Never leave, oh Jesus, stay with me. Come on in, take a seat. I made room for you and me. Never leave, oh Jesus, stay with me. Oh,
Make my heart your home. Ooh, all that's mine is yours. Ooh, make my heart your home. Ooh, all that's mine is yours. Ooh. My heart is beating faster in my chest as I sing where my loyalties will rest. To never wait on the governments to move as the broken and the poor cry out for you. For the kingdom and the king, for his glory we will sing. For the rescue of our souls he has come. For the kingdom and the cross, for the triumph and the loss, your love is broken through and now redeemed. For the kingdom and the king. God, may we be focused on the least, a people balancing the fasting and the feast, a call to give and to serve and celebrate. For you are great, oh my God, you are great. For the kingdom and the king, for his glory we will sing. For the rescue of our souls he has come. For the kingdom and the cross, for the triumph and the loss, your love is broken through and now redeemed. And our hope is not in this land, oh, not in these laws, and not in these things. We rest, oh, knowing your love has called us to move. You've called us to sing, sing, sing. The people will sing, sing, sing. The kingdom and the king, for the king, for the king. For the kingdom and the king, for his glory we will sing. For the rescue of our souls he has come. For the kingdom and the cross, for the triumph and the loss, your love is broken through and now redeemed. For the kingdom and the king, for his glory we will sing. For the rescue of our souls he has come. For the kingdom and the cross, for the triumph and the loss, your love is broken through and now redeemed. For the kingdom and the king. Oh, oh.
People are going to be jumping off the website, y'all.
Fanfare.
Can y'all please play? There you go. Can y'all play the ugliest chord? Can y'all try to match this crap with the chord? Give me the ugliest chord you got. Ready? 1, 2, 3. That's close. That's close. Thank you, band. You bunch of spoil sports. Well, good morning. For those of you who are terribly confused, I'm Jason's twin, who didn't inherit the gene on how to dress. That's actually not true, and that's not in the notes either. Oh my God, I feel so uncomfortable right now. What can I say? So welcome to this little place. What's missing? Patrick, what's missing up here? Oh, there's a hat. I'm missing a hat. I don't know how you preach without a hat on. No, I don't need help, you guys. That was a joke. I don't need help. I know where that is. This is terrible. I'm not Jay Leno, and this is not Tuesday night. So good morning. It feels great to be back. Allison and I, we weren't here last Sunday, as you may have noticed, because we were at a coupleship intensive in Tennessee, and Trey did a great job, and he also sort of mentioned that we were away. In all seriousness, we've been married 26 and a half years, and it was time to do some scheduled maintenance, if you will, on our relationship or on our marriage, specifically on how we show up and communicate as a couple. So you know, part of the weight of being a church leader, or some might call a spiritual leader, is that some people assume that you're a subject matter expert on human relationships, when that may not be true, Mark. Hate to tell you. Even though I spend most of my time dealing with people in the thick of people issues, call them human relationship dynamics, I do not consider myself to be an expert. Allison and I work hard. We love one another immensely, and still we get really stuck once in a while. And when we do, we get help. So you know what barbers do when they need a haircut? Patrick, do you know what a barber does when he needs a haircut? He goes to a barber. He doesn't cut him himself. You can see those haircuts from the International Space Station. No, when a good barber needs a haircut, he goes to someone who can cut hair. So when Allison and I need some relationship help, we don't pretend we don't. We talk to people whose life work is getting couples unstuck. And that's where we were last week. And I don't have any qualms at all about owning that. We were in the mountains of Tennessee finding new tools to keep going strong. I mean, we actually only have 24 more years to plan our 50th anniversary, honey. So hopefully we'll do that well, and we'll still do that here at ANC. Hopefully not wearing these stupid clothes. More about this crap later. What can I tell you? I lost a bet. That's how this goes, right? I guess I'm realizing that I had no idea what I meant when I said I do way back in the summer of 1994. How could I have? But somehow all these years later, these two words, I do, feel more real, more alive, more expansive, more delightful than I can ever recall. And I mean that. So let me pause right here before we actually get started and say this. Your heart might be pounding. Maybe I'm talking to you. If you're stuck, which I would define as consistently feeling unseen, unwanted, or uncared for by your chosen partner, if you are stuck, that doesn't go away by itself. Get help. Contact us. Contact me. My email is on the website. You can find that super easy. Contact us if you're on fumes. We have run our tank down to nearly empty several times in 26 years. Don't stay there. Reach out. You aren't supposed to feel all alone in a relationship, and if you do, you weren't supposed to fix that by yourself. There is help, and there is no shame in reaching for it. Take a deep breath. A little seriousness out of the way, though. So here we go. If this is your first time tuning in, oh my God, I don't know what to tell you. This is not how I usually dress, right? You probably can guess by now. I wanted to post a before and after. I showed up in pajamas that looked cooler than this crap. What can I say? But this is what happens when you open your big fat mouth, which apparently I haven't learned not to do yet. You see, we challenged a church on Morgan, a church a lot like ours, but in Raleigh, North Carolina, to see who could get more people behind Family Empowerment Day for Help One Now in the big drive to sponsor education in the emerging world last September 15th. You remember, it was a couple weeks ago. And as you heard from Lamar last week, we killed it. Allison and Lamar thought that we should shoot for 50, and I remember thinking, that sounds ambitious. Well, we hit 111. So Pastor Justin and I thought that it might be cool to motivate our little faith communities by offering an updated version of, the old pie in the pastor's face, updated and way crueler. I'd take a dozen pies in my freaking face right now just to save me from this indignity, Sarah. Can I have your jumpsuit? Can I have your Air Force flight suit, please? Anything? Anyone? I guess I thought that church on Morgan would beat us. Well, as you can see, they didn't. Y'all showed up large, and here we are. And I hope you enjoy your reward. Some of you didn't even know we had here. Oh my God.
I'm so sorry.
Whoa.
Someone on the phone for you.
Hi, Sam.
Sorry,
Lord.
So sorry.
Hello? This is bad. Justin. Oh. We were just talking about you. Yeah. You twerp you. What can I say? So what is this? I'm in the middle of a live stream. What are you doing? Oh, this is your concession speech. I should be wearing a tie. Thank you. I'll bet you wore a black t-shirt today because that's what you wear every day. Yeah, mine's a bit of a more cultivated image, but thank you, Justin. I've got to go. We got a live stream going on. Bye. Sam, your phone. Good grief. Seriously. Anyway, what can I tell you? Except that I lost my place now. How do you recover from that? Thank you, Justin. Justin's great. You'll meet him later. Anyway, it's interesting to think about what I'm wearing. You can only see the laughs in the room. It feels like a real joke, but I'm not hearing anything back, except for Mark, who's dangling things from his nose at this point. Whatever he had for breakfast is on your shirt, Mark. It's on your shirt, so yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, though, that everything that I'm wearing at one time or another, it wasn't ugly. Some of you are wearing a shirt like this right now. Don't feel bad. The little flap in the back, I'm the selfie guy. This wasn't designed to be ugly. Out-of-style clothes don't start that way. Time does that damage. Everything I'm wearing was once cool, maybe, except what's going on down by my shoes, which I can't explain. At one time or another, it may have made sense. Maybe it was even bold. Maybe it was even forward. Someone actually spent money for this. To sell something, you have to convince someone that what they're wearing is no longer cool. And that seems weird to us now because we aren't familiar with the context that these first appeared in. So some of you are seeing where we're going now. As it turns out, context matters. And I want us to remember that as we begin our fall preaching series today. We're now done with the parables, and we've thought about generosity, both global and local, the last 2 weeks. Now it's officially fall. Most of you know me well enough to know that I don't often reach for the Old Testament for sermon material. I have trouble enough resurrecting the world of Jesus, which was 2,000 years ago. Finding life-changing content in material twice as old actually takes some skill. We have very little connection to the ancient Near East anymore, which is the context in which our sacred text comes from to us. Most of us can barely access the Jim Crow South, much less the cultural linguistic intricacies of 4,000 years ago. So it feels like a challenge to teach from the material that's that old. And yet, it's part of our faith tradition, isn't it? We aren't the first to believe. Our faith comes from somewhere, and it didn't begin with Jesus. He stepped into a tradition that was already thousands of years old. So going back can be, if done well, a way of going forward if we do it carefully. Because there's nothing new in the human condition. There really isn't, and I think you know that. The past can be a sort of prologue of things to come if we listen well. So now, I'm suggesting that ancient, pre-modern, pre-scientific views of God or the cosmos or human nature or even sexuality shouldn't remain frozen in time. I'll be honest with you, God as a jealous, genocidal judge no longer resonates with me. I've buried that version of God, and many times I've invited you to do the same. Some like to say, well, the Old Testament makes sense because for its time, it was a move in the right direction. And I can see how that helps make sense. I'm sure it was a giant leap in the direction of God, the humble king of refugees, to borrow from our poet, revealed to the whole world as love. Compared to the cultural context of that day, I'm sure every iteration was a contribution of its own, but I can't be certain of that since I'm not an expert in ancient Canaanite cosmotheology. Maybe you are. Even if it's better than some stuff that was actually happening at the same time, we have to deal honestly with our text. And a deity that would demand an ancient king murder every living thing in a neighboring nation, and upon discovering that he didn't, would punish him for showing mercy, doesn't inspire trust and safety for me. I don't know about you. If this was a good God then, I'm ready to hear all about the subsequent upgrades because that's just wild. Perhaps you know what story I'm referring to, and we'll get there. But we're going to have to mind how we go, as DCI Thursday often tells Inspector Morse in John Fry's favorite British show called Endeavour. We're going to have to pay attention so we don't teleport an ancient, evil, angry male deity across the centuries to 2020. We already have plenty of that version of God. So I offer you a couple ideas as a foundation for where we're going together. To begin, if you're looking for stories of a God who commands mass genocide and destruction and the waging of war, you can find them here. They're all here in this old book, preserved for posterity. If you're looking for examples of patriarchy and sexism and taking historical liberties to elevate your tribe's story over every other competing story of origin, they're all here too. Look no further than this old book. If you're looking for an underdog story of a wandering people who borrowed concepts and cosmologies and mythologies from neighboring peoples and made them their own, you guessed it, look no further. It's all right here. And yet, there is good news here still. This book can destroy as easily as it can bring life. It just depends on how you use it. There's a lot to misinterpret, misapply, misunderstand, and mistake as God's direct commands for us today. This won't be an exact overlay, as you know, and I don't think it actually works that way. This can be the beginning of all sorts of evil when you make those jumps from God said then to God says now. Which reminds me, can I tell you about a pet peeve of mine? Thank you. You're so kind. Hearing no answer. It bothers me when people lazily say God says because it's written in one of the ancient books gathered and preserved in our Bible. Many of these books bear the names of the men who wrote them. Sometimes they actually even did write them. And yet, even when Paul wrote it, or Jeremiah wrote it, or Moses had someone write it down, we still have this bad habit of saying God said. And it's not that simple. Even when David or Moses or Abraham wrote down the words they attributed to God, it's still not technically correct to say God said. Maybe Moses said God said might be more honest. Now, some of you are like, get off the point. You hear what I'm saying. Anyway, I think you're hearing me. Great abuse has been authorized and perpetrated in the back of these ancient writings. And I think we can do better, but we'll have to do it carefully. So welcome to your fall series, 1st and 2nd Samuel, past as prologue. There you have it, a little bit of laugh track there. I'm known for long intros. I stole that from a good friend. What can I say? If you make 90% of what you have to say the intro, then you don't have to say much at the end. No, that's not how it works. But this week, we begin a multi-part series, and I'm actually getting really excited. In the characters of 1st and 2nd Samuel, some of the most ancient and arcane material that we have access to in our text. With the help of ANC's Preaching Guild, I will attempt to lead us into a study of leadership and character development that occupies nearly 60 chapters of the Old Testament, which makes this the deepest, most in-depth character study found anywhere in the Bible. It took 60 chapters to tell us the story of the rise of the kings, paralleled by the rise of the office of the prophet, who became the brakes and the bumpers on kingship in ancient Israel. From Samuel to Saul to David to Solomon, we'll learn about ancient leaders and how they were formed and how they fell. 60 chapters on leadership. You know, we don't even have 60 chapters on the origin of the universe. And this should signal to us just how significant the question of leadership and authority is for the people of God. If we are not careful, we lose our way into ancient Jewish minds as well as to the modern mind this matters. Why this conversation, you might ask? Why talk about leadership and who speaks for God and who speaks for us and who gets to lead with or without God's sanction and support? Oh, I bet you can't guess why now. I bet you can't guess. You see, leaders fail and authority goes awry. So if we let it, this study will set the stage for a very important conversation that we need to have. So let me shock you with the obvious in case you still carry a flip phone, which by next week we all will, having seen Social Dilemma, just saying. In case you live under a rock, let me just give you the news. In the next 40 days or so, we're coming in sideways to the most toxic political season imaginable. To call it a circus would be to insult honorable circus performers. I promise you, this will go way below the belt before it's over. And here's the thing. Politics wouldn't matter to me at all if it weren't for the fact that both parties transact on the assumption that they speak for God, for good, for righteousness. Oh, you don't think so? How far, listen, ask yourself this question. How far are you currently from the perspective that says this? You can't possibly be a person of real faith or a real Christian or even a good person if you're in that party. Fill in the gaps. Both ideologies position themselves as having the corner on the market for ethics and morality. Both demonize the other. That's how they fire us up. Both co-opt religious language to motivate people to vote for who they say speaks on behalf of God or goodness or morality. You see the fear? You see the manipulation? You see how foolish this can make all of us? Did you ever consider that it might just all be propaganda? Political parties don't speak for God, do they? Candidates don't even embody goodness or righteousness or evil. You don't fix what's wrong with the culture by changing its leader. I'm about to preach on a Sunday morning. If you think what's wrong with America is Trump, or if you are afraid about our future because of who Biden is, you aren't thinking straight. You've swallowed the fishhook right on cue, which is why we will sit with ourselves for a while in the light that these ancient stories about leaders and authority and truth and prophetic truth-telling might yet reveal about us to ourselves. All these centuries later, I promise it will be relevant. So in conclusion, Myrtle, he hasn't even read the Bible yet. How about that, right? In conclusion, if you're anything like me, if despair and dread and fear are within arm's reach for you right now, honestly, I barely recognize this country anymore. And what disturbs me most is how willing I am to believe scary thoughts about my neighbor. I have allowed these leaders to do this to me. Nobody forces me to think or feel in any particular way. I allow it. You allow it. We allow it. So it's time to think deeply about leadership and the people of God and our sacred commission in the real world. It's time to fully understand our past because, like it or not, it is the prologue to our future. And in case you've already lost hope, it's my joy to remind you today of the gospel, even in this very Old Testament terminology. Hear me. Our God, humble King of refugees, our God, nurturing mother of the wandering, of the displaced, our God, dedicated fan of the underdog, is near. Our God is here for it. He's here for all of it. Our God is listening. Our God is involved deeply in every cry, every fear, every victory, and every loss. And there it is. In case you're keeping score, I know the guild is. The two great themes of 1 and 2 Samuel are leadership and the reversal of fortune. You know, this won't all travel across the centuries, but what will is the notion of a God who elevates the plight of the forgotten, the voiceless, the small, and the insignificant. And it all gets underway with a song, which matters to me. I'm a songwriter, just like David Ramirez, but entirely unlike David Ramirez. David, if you're watching, I love you. Lamar, I promised you I would get David in here twice. Anyway. This whole story begins with the song of the forgotten second wife, the childless second wife, the humiliated second wife of a man who barely mattered, but oh, her words did. And among other things, she sang these words: "Talk no more so very proudly. Let not arrogance come from your mouth, for the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. Now look at this image. The bows of the mighty are broken, but the feeble gird on strength. And you might say, bows, what do you mean? The most ferocious weapons of warfare in the ancient Near East were the bow and the bowmen who could shoot from afar. She sings these words to God: the bows of the mighty are broken, but the feeble gird on strength. Those who were full have hired themselves out for bread, and those who were hungry are fat with spoil. You see the reversal? The barren has become 7, but she who has many children is forlorn. Y'all, the 3 greatest chapters in the history of the ancient Jewish people begin with songs sung by women. That's why we love you so much, Garrison Starr. Think about it. The Exodus begins with Miriam's song. She offers the theological construct for a people emerging from slavery. The kings and the stories of the prophets begin with Hannah's song, and the birth of Jesus begins with Mary's Magnificat. We'll go deeper into the story of Hannah next week under the remarkable tutelage of Dr. Jessica Godot. For now, hold on to this image in your mind as a God who loves to reverse our fortune as long as we are willing to let him work in our life, as we search for comfort in these very old stories, this very old version of good news. You see, God sees pain, loss, disappointment. She sees it all. He sees it all, every bit. And God is here to reverse the plight and the fortune of the forgotten. This has always been true. And boy, oh boy, do we need to know that now. I need that now. Our world needs to be reminded of that right now. And this isn't limited to Hannah's prayer. God's willingness to reverse fortune turns up when a tall kid goes in search of his father's lost donkeys. When the last-born red-headed son goes from taking care of sheep to slaying giants. When a young musician moves the heart of a troubled king to peace and calm. When a prophet risks life and limb to speak truth to power. When a tiny nation defends herself against the military machine of far greater empires. It will turn up everywhere. Hear me, church. Our God knows how to reverse the fortune of the forgotten, which is such good news as long as we are not married to power and influence and authority and fear. Oh, can you accept it? Can your heart make room for a gospel this old, this big today? I pray that you will. Join me in prayer. Lord, move us. Move us to a place where we can see you more deeply. Reveal our hearts to ourselves that we may release those things that we hide behind, that we think represent real power but don't. And show us your way in the world. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Oh God, you are a mystery. We crowd the streets in hopes to see the Son of Man before our eyes, His holiness uncompromised. Oh God, we have a history. The saints who told of Calvary, and the martyrs who laid down their lives for the cause of Christ was sacrificed. Oh, let our faith be not alone.
Let our faith be not alone.
May our hearts be not of stone.
May our hearts be not of stone.
Give us souls that never close
Give us souls that never close
to the grace that you bestow.
to the grace that you bestow.
May our eyes be quick to see
May our eyes be quick to see.
you are here, you've come to rescue me. You are here, you've come to rescue me. Oh God, you are a mystery, redemption for the world to see. The Son of Man before our eyes, His holiness uncompromised. Oh God, we have a history, saints who told of Calvary, and the martyrs who laid down their lives for the cause of Christ was sacrificed. Oh, let our faith be not alone.
Let our faith be not alone.
May our hearts be not of stone.
May our hearts be not of stone.
Give us souls that never close
Give us souls that never close
to the grace that you bestow.
to the grace that you bestow.
Yeah, may our eyes be quick to see
May our eyes be quick to see.
you are here, you've come to rescue me. You are here, you've come to rescue me. Let our faith be not alone.
Let our faith be not alone.
May our hearts be not of stone.
May our hearts be not of stone.
Give us souls that never close
Give us souls that never go
to the grace that you bestow.
to the grace that you
Yeah,
bestow.
let our faith be not alone.
Let our faith be not
Oh,
alone.
let our hearts be not of stone.
May our hearts be not of
Yeah,
stone.
give us souls that never
Give us
close.
souls that never
Oh,
go
to the grace that you bestow.
to the grace that you
Oh,
bestow.
may our eyes be quick to see.
Eyes be quick to see.
You are here, you've come to rescue me. You are here, you've come to rescue me. You are here,
All right. Thank you, ANC. Thank you for obliging our silliness. For the good of kids who need education in parts of the world to which we are strung together, thank you for being good sports. This is not a hat, in case you needed to know. This is a gas station find, because Patrick has inner evil that he accesses so easily, and decided that I needed to wear this. They took my turquoise from me, y'all. What can I say? Patrick tells me last night, he says, don't be stressed. Think about this. You don't have to plan your wardrobe. I said, I planned so far ahead. I bought a new watch to recover the bad wardrobe because I knew what y'all were going to do. All right, let it go. Let it go, Jason. All right. This has been fun. Couple of things to announce as we go into our week. We have a couple of roundtables coming up. Wednesday, we're going to convene whoever wants to get into Zoom space and talk about going back to school for parents. That might be lots of Band-Aids and casts and triage. I'm not sure what your life going back to school is like, but ours is a bit of a crash course. So that will be Wednesday night. There's one coming up tomorrow night on the 28th. Mark, you have some deets about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're having a little Zoom call for all of the creatives of our church, and there's lots of reasons to do it. But I think the main thing for me has been, I don't know, the story goes I've been a musical vagabond for the last decade or so, and having a home church again and creating and doing for a home church, it's just such a different kind of feeling. And so if you are open to it, we'd love to have your creativity. And so, yeah, join us on Monday night, Zoom call. We'll get to know each other, get to know the creatives in the community, and then we'll kind of see what the future holds from there.
Great. Thank you, Mark. We love you. We love Mark and Bailey. I'm not sure why he keeps turning down the volume to his keyboard while he's talking. Did you guys?
I noticed that.
He's like, I'm just gonna turn down the volume of my keyboard since
Because I know I'll do this.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so a couple Zooms coming up. Listen, I hear from people, look, we don't want another Zoom. We want to be connected. I don't know what else to tell you except we're emerging slowly. We've had a couple things in our backyard, and so we're moving in that direction. Look to your neighborhood networks, those emails that maybe you haven't answered, to begin to start to get to know some ANC people in your neighborhood, and then jump from there into someone's backyard, spaced out. Everyone can bring their own sort of refreshments. But that's coming up. Also, as always, giving is a thing, y'all. I'm so proud tomorrow we're going to meet with our board of advisors, people that I love dearly, who we get to gather around the good news that our giving hasn't failed, which is not true for every church in America. And so we seek to be faithful with those things. We're trying to put those to work in the mission of God in the world. And so always a thing. So there you have it. So these final words come to us from another poet who's part of us, a deeply part of us. Her name is Lauren Janes, and she writes these words as we go. We are traveling, not on a straight line, but on a spiraling staircase, meeting the same obstacles in different attire, in varied political climates. Whenever it starts to feel too dizzying, I close my eyes and I touch my heart to be with God in the stillness of the eternal present. Here in the center of my chest, God whispers, Harriet Tubman was the Moses of her people. Will you be the Harriet of yours? Go in peace. We love you.